and stream live now. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, is now being broadcast on NPN Voice. NPN Voice can be found on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, and now on Audible and Amazon Music, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, now on NPN Voice. NPN Voice. Got voice. You heard?
Suave afternoon, Suave afternoon, Suave afternoon. This is Brother Suave, your mind-blowing, thought-provoking, and eye-opening on-air personality, life coach, psychotherapist, author, and creator. Hope you guys having a suavelous day.
Yeah, and with that, let's commence to pay. Okay,
I'm so suavelous, you so suavelous.
Together we can fix the trauma that's befallen us.
Divine social interactions remains marvelous.
Mind-blowing, suavelicious talk, higher consciousness. But think, letting at your heart speed trouble, Dr. Brother Suave.
Divine light get you dull.
Greetings, this is Dr. Brother Suave, your mind-blowing, thought-provoking, and eye-opening on-air personality, life coach, psychotherapist, author, creator, and host of Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave. Happy New Year's, everyone. I'm having a suave, amazing year so far. Man, listen, I'm so suave excited about this suave, amazing year, 2023. I will continue my suave, relentless pursuit of greatness in year 2023. Listen, I suggest you do the same. This has been a great year so far. And I thank God for allowing me to see it. He allowed me to wake up with my health, my life, and my strength. And I thank God for him allowing me to see another day to get it right. Another day to apologize, to be grateful and be thankful for those I love and respect. And I thank him for it. So you all should be grateful because guess what? We was able to be the blessed ones to see a day and another year we have never seen before. So we should take advantage of that. So I'm looking forward to this great year. I had a great day today. Had a great Zoom meeting today. I have some great projections on my new project, my new foundation. I'm very optimistic about life, very optimistic about 2 4-letter words in my life, love and life. Those are 2 4-letter words that I am always optimistic about because guess what? I love myself some me. So let's get into tonight's topic. Stop going to social media to address personal and relationship issues. Listen, we got to stop and leave that stuff back in 2022. We need to just let it go because guess what? You find yourself trying to exploit others, but you're really exploiting yourself. You're really putting your business out there for other people's entertainment. And let me tell you, when people start clowning you or saying certain things, you get all into your feelings and say, don't talk about me. Who are you? But you're putting your business out there. And sometimes you got to be able to control those impulses. I know sometimes we're hurt. I know sometimes we're angry. I know sometimes we just flat out fed up. But those are things you need to learn how to handle another way. Happy New Year's, cuz. That's my beautiful and wonderful and accountability cousin, Sabrina Jones. Man, that's one of the best cousins in the world. I'm telling you, she's just a suave, amazing, suave, adorable, and suave-tastic cousin. Let me tell you, it's great to have people like that in your family because she represents family, but also relatives because it's definitely a difference. So again, life has a funny way of showing us that we have our times to shine, but we also have those very embarrassing moments. So sometimes, I always say one of the most painful experiences in life is the pain and regret. Sometimes you'll regret being impulsive and going out there on social media, telling all your business, because in life we have our peaks and valleys, one thing I have come to realize that we can have our 15 minutes of fame, but we can also have our 15 minutes of shame. So think about before you go out there, putting your business out there on social media. It's always a time and place for everything. There are many people you can go to. And I know it's great to feel like you're going to your friends and family. You know what? You do what makes you feel better. sometimes you have to do what's best for your overall mental health, because sometimes your friends and family members, they can just be so subjective and biased. So sometimes you have to be mindful when you have a professional coach, therapist, counselor. They're going to address the real issues. They're going to address the issues, and they're not going to take your side, and they're going to hold you accountable, because sometimes, yes, we have friends that can be our accountability, but for the most part, our friends and families, they're just not always able to be objective in the objectivity that you need to help you make important decisions. Sometimes they will. I'm definitely not going to discount that, but just be mindful, because it's important that you have these people in your life. How you doing, brother Frederick? Happy New Year. Listen, I just want to tell you guys, Frederick is, and I was just talking about family and relatives and those who are related to you. Sometimes you can't help it because of the biological connection. But family are those you have a long-term relationship. And I just want to give a shout out to Fred, man. He's always supporting me no matter what. I'm talking about no matter what, he'll support me. He's standing in the paint for me, and we reciprocate that relationship. So everyone in 2023, just try to have reciprocal relationships. Try to build the foundations of love that's going with life, because you want to have life love partners, people you can love for the rest of your life, not just because they're relatives, but you want them to be family, and how family is defined with those long-term relationships that people love you, respect you, and support you. So it's so important. I just want to tell you, thank you, Fred. I love you. I appreciate you, man. And thank you for being family. And so also, it's just one of the things, again, you can have that 15 minutes of shame. And so one of the things I want to talk about is talking about the older you get, we always say the wiser you should become. But I just want to ask you guys, can I challenge that? I really want to challenge that, because from my perspective, my Suave philosophy, see, so back to getting wiser as the older you become. Well, in my opinion, I just want to address this. In my opinion, they always say the older you get, the wiser you should become. But sometimes, if you don't put the work into getting wiser and try to learn from your mistakes, I don't see you getting older and wiser. I just pretty much see you being stuck. It's just, I just don't see you getting wiser. If you're not putting in the work to become more, learning more, and getting exposed to more, and changing your philosophy through growth, I just don't see you getting wiser. It's just like an example. Okay, let's say you were a person that's not too bright. And I'm just being a little politically correct because I don't want to offend people. But let's say you wasn't the brightest person in school, and you never really put any work. You didn't study. You didn't do homework. You didn't challenge yourself intellectually. Moving forward, 20 years go by. You think if you didn't put any work in those past 20, 30 years, you're going to be any smarter. You didn't do any reading. You didn't do any exploring. You didn't get any insight. Do you really believe that you got smarter? I don't think so. So again, they're pretty much going to be the same not too bright person that they were 20 or 30 years ago. And I know we all have experienced people. You're like, you still don't know this. And these are very basic things, but they didn't learn them when they were young. And they definitely still don't know. So sometimes people could be stuck. So don't always believe those things. And I've told you guys many times who support me, oh my God, Happy New Year, cuz. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for your support. Letting you know that's my big cousin, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate you for showing up. I really, really appreciate you. That's my big cousin, man. I always used to look up to him when I was a kid, man. He was a child star, man. Did some great things. He was like the thing in our community, man. I remember he had his XR75, man. That was the bike back in 1975. I remember that, Tyrone. I remember that. But man, he was always a sharp dresser. Yeah, I think I'm a sharp dresser. That brother is on point 365 days a year, always 12 months, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Even on the off day, he's going to be sharp. And I just want to tell you, thank you so much for your support. And so again, we have to be mindful of about growing and developing and getting wiser. I just say this because again, I see so many individuals who, in my opinion, just got in the past because of their age. But again, I don't really see them being growing developmentally. And I think sometimes, and today I want to really talk about going on social media, trying to talk about your relationship issues, personal issues, and issues that you're having with others. And we got to stop being so impulsive. You know, so many of us who want our young people to respect us, but we're acting just like the youngins. Let's keep it real. We're acting just like the youngins, and we always wondering, oh, they do this, they do that. We don't even show them enough respect to show them the right way. Oh my God. How you doing? Thank you. Happy New Year's, Trinity Sunshine. She has a statement that says, I'm dealing with that person now. It says, I've concluded that they don't just have the capacity, the capability, nor the desire to know or accept the truth. Listen, let me tell you something, Trinity. So many people are in denial. And when you confront them about denial, the first thing they say is, I'm not in denial. Well, newsflash, denial, that's why it's called denial, because we don't know it. And when someone's trying to show into your life and share some things with you, please listen to them. A fool rejects wisdom. A lot of times, you know, like for example, I'm looking and I can see myself, but generally it could be something on our nose. We can't see it. Or we have a frown on our face. We can't see it. But guess what? Other people say it. So when you frowned up looking like this, and then a person, what you're frowning at, the first thing people say, oh, I'm not frowning. People see what you're doing. They see how you're acting. They see how you're behaving. And when you don't have self-awareness, and when people are trying to tell you about something, bring something to your attention, stop being so defensive. Stop being so impulsive, and stop denying what people see. People are not imagining what they're seeing. And sometimes we have to learn how to be a little more humble and say, what do you see? I stand corrected. Be humble enough to say I'm wrong. Be humble enough to say I'm sorry. Be humble enough to say, what do you see? Be humble enough to say, can you help me out? Because we in a society where people just are too arrogant. When I say arrogant, not confidence, because a lot of times I'm perceived as arrogant because I have my suaveness, which is confidence. I believe in myself. But there's a difference between believing in yourself and having some type of receipts and producing these results versus just talking. You know, it just really, when people are telling you something, please just listen. No need to respond so quick, because trust, you move slow, you can process, you can hear what people are trying to say. You know, it's just like even today when Shannon Sharp was just trying to make a point, and this imbecile, I'm not going to even say his name, he cut the person off. And this is how sometimes our relationships are. People are just trying to share some positive information into our lives, and we just blurt out because we don't want to hear the truth. It's something in us that's saying, this person is holding us accountable. And I guess sometimes we just don't like accountability. There you go. There you go, my cousins. So real, so real. Yes, this stuff is real because people don't want to be held accountable. I think we as society have these huge egos that we don't want to be correct. I don't know if that's called pride, but the pride comes before the fall. And this is why so many people have so many heartaches, so many mishaps in their life, and they always want people to hear. But a lot of times, man, it's because of their ego, their lack of humility. And this is why they have so many hardships in life. I mean, they do people wrong. And then when the karma comes around, they have a real problem with dealing with their poor decisions and the karma and the bad luck that comes after that. And I definitely had my experiences this year. You know, I'm going to share a story with you guys. I definitely will not mention any names, but I'm just going to try to be as creative as I can. But if I don't, there's no worries because the people know what they did. You guys know I sell books, products, T-shirts, and stuff like that. And, you know, I always was, you know, I'm generally an optimistic person, but because when people say they show you who they are, you believe them. And, but sometimes you try to forgive. And, but, you know, So this person ordered so much product from me. I was happy because I'm grateful. I celebrate the smallest things. So when someone's buying more than two or three products at a time, I'm just really grateful. That's just how I am. And so I was like, man, this is great. This is a big sale. And I tend to communicate because anybody know how to do business with me. I try to communicate and everything. Um, and nevertheless, they left me hanging that much of product and just after even speaking to them the day before, and it just left me hanging. And it's like, wow, you know, and it was no need to call them because they know what they did. And then this is the thing when I'm saying, when you do people wrong and bad things happen to you, don't act surprised. Just accept it. So when it comes to, okay, we fail for the lack of understanding, I believe that, but I also think we fail because we have bad karma. Because I think people understand. It's one of the things I want to tell you because people always say you do better when you know better. And I just don't believe that. I believe you do better when you apply the things because a lot of people know what they shouldn't do. They understand what they shouldn't do, but they still do it nonetheless. So a lot of times we go and steal from people, we hurt people, we lie to people, we manipulate people, and we understand how it impacts them emotionally. We understand how it impacts them financially. We understand how it impacts them in terms of level of trust. But sometimes we just don't care. So this is what I'm saying. So we have to be very mindful of what we do in terms of acting out and doing the things. So this is what I'm saying. Sometimes people go ahead and again go on social media crying about what someone did to them, airing out their personal business. But guess what? A lot of times they only want to you to hear their sad story. But a lot of times a lot of bad things happen to them because karma has come around and tapped them right on the shoulder and say, "Hey, I'm back. You know, you got to pay the piper." Because decisions, there are consequences to our decisions, but also as rewards to our decisions. And sometimes we have to be mindful of what we do that can be a consequence and what we can do that may be a reward. So a lot of times it's time for us to grow up and act mature as adults. You know, one of the things we do, we're not leading as an example. I mean, this is 2023, and I just see so many people acting out like children going on social media. You got the old heads showing their breasts, twerking, just trying to compete with the younger people. Then you got the old heads with the guys always out there trying to do everything they can to try to impress and compete with the young dudes. Listen, we all got our time to shine, and I think we have to also try to grow and develop and become better versions of ourselves and not trying to stay in those days and be like old boxers who's still trying to stay in that ring. Sometimes we could be coaches and train people and help them go to another level. See, when you do better, it says you do better when you do better. Simple. Exactly. I love that. You do better when you do better. Just like people do people things, you do better when you do better. Absolutely, Trinity. I thank you, Lord. Thank you for that insight. Listen, I thank you guys for the engagement. I'm telling you, again, I don't take any of you guys for granted. I appreciate you guys. Anyone is on here, know me intimately. Who I am in private is who I am in public. So you guys know, hey, brother J Pitts, that's another brother, life coach JP presents. Oh man, good evening. Good evening. Should I say suave evening? You know, we ain't coming in with this good this year. We're gonna do great and excellent at a minimum. Hey, listen. So again, and it brings me to a story. It was like some years back, I was lecturing downtown Atlanta, and and my camera staff was conducting interviews after and with people who was in present at my engagement. And so, you know, I watched the interviews, and what stood out to me was this particular young lady. She said on the interview, she was saying that she said it's hard to respect the older generation because how they carry themselves and how they act. And that was about in 2007. Here it is in 2023. we seen these things. This young lady obviously saw some things, and we have to be mindful how we conduct ourselves. We want respect, but we don't. People say respect is earned, and I agree. I think we should all give respect, but I think sometimes it's earned, and sometimes when you lose that respect, it's definitely hard to get back. Trust is something you can get your trust back, but when people lose respect, it's just sort of hard to get back. And I think collectively, we're a lot of our young generation is losing respect for us because we spend a lot of time criticizing them and not edifying them. But then they go out and see how we act and saying, man, have we not got past that stage where we not trying to compete with them and not acting all delinquent and adolescent? No, it's nothing wrong with having fun because I love to have fun, and you guys know me. I love to laugh. That's why I believe I stay young because I'm young at heart. But I also think that people have to learn to make a clear difference in creating boundaries and respectful boundaries between us and them. And I say us and them, meaning the elders, because we are the elders. A lot of times we're in denial, but guess what, fellas, ladies, we're them. We're them. We all talking about the old heads and our parents. Well, we're them now. A lot of us in our 50s, going to our 60s, 40s, going into our 50s. We're them now. So if we want respect, we have to really conduct ourselves in a respectful way. And when you see somebody doing something, tap them on the shoulder. Be respectful in how you present your challenge towards how to conduct themselves, but conduct yourself in a way that they can at least respect and honor you. Because again, we want respect and then we have to give it. And so I just see it, just to me, it's just not tasteful to see so many of us really misrepresenting ourselves. It just reminds me of how we used to always say that we're supposed to be influencing the younger generation, but it seems like they are influencing us. It's just like the church. The church should be influencing the masses, but it seems like the masses are influencing the church. So we got to get this thing back in order. Order is important because without it, chaos exists. Really, it's a real deal. So if we don't want to have a chaotic world, and you guys see what's going on every day in terms of families, relationships, community, just so many different things is filled with chaos, and everything's going so fast. And I know we're in an instant gratification generation, but we got to slow this thing down. We got to get back to the basics. I always say the faster you move, the more mistakes you make. The slower you move, the less mistakes you make. And we have to really, really get down and move a little slow. Amen. Cousin, we just got to slow it down. We got to get back to the basics of communication, the basics of what we always say, family. Listen, let me tell you guys something. And this is why, again, how I am in public is how I'm in private. I tell family members, I tell friends, I tell associates, listen, we got to be communicating. We got to stop allowing this thing right here to dictate our lives. We got to learn to communicate, call, do wellness checks on family members, and stop letting family reunions, should I say, let funerals be family reunions. It really bothers me. And again, when I see people giving their condolences, and I love you and I'm going to miss you to family members, like they can hear you. They can't. They can't hear your text on social media about how much you love them. You have to do things proactively. You want to say family. What is family? You got to be able to call people, check on people, and have these reciprocal relationships. And this is why so many people tend to create new families and new lives. And then next thing you know, again, people play victim and say, oh man, they went out and having a close relationship with other people, because those are the people who respect, those are the people who check up on them, those are the people who love them, those are the people who honor them, those are the people who support them. So you want to understand why people are doing this. Sometimes it's important to do self-checks. And so this is why I say whatever you condone, you got to own. So again, we have to be mindful of what we're doing, how we're conducting ourselves, and how we end up going on social media talking about how people are treating us. But sometimes we got to be mindful how you treating other people. And sometimes you don't feel good when you end up getting treated bad. But think about all the other people you treated bad and how they felt. And sometimes people just don't even care until they become victims, you know? And so we got to stop going to social media, airing out our personal business, our relationship issues, our business issues, and all those things, because there are places and people you can go to air those things out. Those are people. You really, I think they call life coaches, counselors, therapists, and guess what? They're not going to take your side. They are the objective that you need. You need objective people. People who's going to tell you, give you some truth, you know, because professionals not easily manipulated. And they're going to be able to address some issues, because the more you talk, the more you share, the more you explain, they're going to have a better understanding because they have a trained ear. They have a lot of insight and trust. They have a lot of experiences talking with people who are having issues, because we all have them. We all have them. And we have to be able to utilize stuff. Going to social media, listen, all you're doing is trust. You may be impulsive and sharing your business, but people laughing at you. They laugh. They may quote when you're behind the scene, you say you're going to do this. They just want to be entertained. They go ahead, put them on blast. But they're laughing at you because a lot of times they're not going to do it themselves. They're just going to be entertained by you making a fool out of yourself. You know, you think you're getting this stuff off your chest, go to a therapist and get it off your chest, because you don't have to put it out there. You know, as I said in one of my books, one of the most painful experiences in life is the most painful experience in life is the pain and regret. And you will regret going out there, putting your business out there, you know. So again, you know, we have to do our best to make better decisions in life, better decisions with our personal life, and better decisions in our relationship life. So, man, listen, I am going to go in, but it's about that time to go into station identification, and we'll be right back with Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave.
Tune in and stream live now. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, is now being broadcast on NPN Voice. NPN Voice can be found on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, and now on Audible and Amazon Music, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, now on NPN Voice. NPN Voice, got voice, you heard?
We're shining bright, and we're shining the light on us like no other. Neighborhood Planet, our neighborhood, our world.
Suave afternoon, Suave afternoon, Suave afternoon. This is Brother Suave, your mind-blowing, thought-provoking, and eye-opening on-air personality, life coach, psychotherapist, author, and creator. Hope you guys having a swabulous day.
Yeah, and with that, let's commence the pay.
Okay, I'm so swavelous, you so swavelous.
Together we can fix the trauma that's befallen us.
Divine social interactions remains marvelous.
Mind-blowing, swavelicious talk, higher consciousness. But think, let not your hearts be troubled, Dr. Brother Suave.
Divine light give you double.
And we're back with social therapy with Dr. Brother Suave. We're just so happy to be back, man. Listen, that first part I was talking about, I don't know how I did this. Okay, there you go. My apologies. That first part was talking about stop going to social media with your personal relationship problems, man. Again, control the impulse, else they'll control you. Those embarrassing moments that are in private will eventually become public and you will regret that you did it. Control the impulse and love yourself some you. So I'm happy for everyone that gave their insight, gave their comments, their statements. I thank you for your support. I thank you. I appreciate you. I love you and I respect you. My second portion of this is going to be relatively short. It's not going to be that long. And this is the part 2 of the topic. It relates to a little bit about the first part, but this talking about what you permit, you promote. What you allow, you encourage. What you condone, you own. We got to learn to take ownership and stop blaming others for how we're treated. I wrote this little post about 6 days ago, and it goes like this: friends, family members, and associates, please don't go into 2023 with that toxic back and forth craziness with your children, your relationships, your friends and associates, and go complaining about how you being treated. If you're allowing this stuff, you're responsible for tolerating it, So, and I also wrote, for the record, friends, family, and associates, if you're having any issues with the aforementioned, don't even think about calling for any of the smallest insight without sending a cash app, a Zelle payment, or making an appointment. And this is a little quote that I guess changed up. It was by Abraham Lincoln. He said, a lawyer's time and advice is a stock and trade. Well, I changed the words and said a therapist or a coach time and advice is their stock and trade. So a lot of times, man, when you spend money and invest and spend thousands of dollars for your credentials, your skill, people got to respect that. And so a lot of times, man, people tend to, again, in the last segment I was talking about, as I closed out, people don't call, people don't check on family members or friends or associates unless it's a crisis. And we tend to have epiphanies during crisis. And we want to get some insight. We want to get some suggestions, but we don't want to pay for it. And therefore, we take people for granted. And so what you can own, you own. So for those people who can't respect what I do as a professional, hey, crash and burn. Not mean to be simple, but it's just the fact that so many people go through the things over and over and over and over. I'm like, what are you doing with yourself that you experiencing these things over and over, being called out your name, being beat up, being treated? Is that what life is about? Is that what a relationship you know what? We're caught up on the numbers. So we can say, I've been together for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. But let me tell you something. I've done a lot of coupling. I've done a lot of therapy with couples. And I'm going to tell you, it's nothing like a healthy relationship. But unfortunately, it's a lot of unhealthy relationships because people have unresolved issues themselves. They have mental health issues. They have trauma, and they never addressed it. So guess what? A lot of trauma bonds exist. People going through substance abuse, they spend a whole life on drugs and alcohol. They get with another person who was drugs and alcohol, and guess what? They have these trauma bonds, and they stuck together, and they go through a lot of toxic arguing and yelling and screaming and disrespect. And guess what? They stay together. And so a lot of times, man, these three things I call the 3 horror cycles. of the perspective of social, spiritual, and clinical perspectives. And it's the insanity cycle, the social one. The clinical is the patterns and repetitions, and the spiritual is the generational curses. Man, all I can do is say, wake up and go get you some healing. Because again, I see these people, man. They go through the stuff over and over. People show them who they are, and they are in denial. This is why I say one thing about denial is a terrible disease, and one thing about the disease of denial, you don't realize you have it. So when people are treating you a certain way, and when they say, just believe them. Stop rationalizing it. Stop rationalizing it. And so what you do is you put yourself through a lot of things, and you don't listen to people. You don't observe. You don't do personal self-care. You don't invest in yourself. You don't read books to get some insight. You don't go get therapists. This stuff is confidential. You can talk about others in a therapy session and get some insight and realize sometimes it's about you and what you tolerate. A lot of times you spend all this time blaming them about how they treat you, but guess what? You staying right there and letting them treat you that way. And then you want to go to somebody and whine and cry about it. But trust, I'm definitely not that sounding board. I'm a person that requires a payment for my services. And for you guys out there, don't let people disturb your peace in 2023. I definitely believe it's good to have people on sounding boards. It's important. But you can always wear out your welcome with doing those sounding boards, because people just sometimes tired of hearing you and your toxic relationships. Trust, people don't want to hear that. And a lot of people are not trained to deal with that. I'm trained to deal with it, and I don't want to deal with it outside of when I'm dealing with paying clients. So again, it's not that I'm being cold. I'm being fair and transparent. And I tell you, invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. I mean, you sit there and complain about people, but I'm telling you, you have nobody to blame except yourself. The subliminal messages, like I say, going on social media, sending these subliminal messages out. That's sometimes a cry for help. Go get some. Go get some healing. And a person who's into personal growth and development, a person is to healing, a person is to an empowerment. We send those messages out there so people can learn from them as learning tools. Other people are sending those things as subliminal messages, and then they come back talking about people. And listen, go get some healing. Don't go another day, another month, another year without investing in yourself. It would change your life. It will give you a different perspective. Like trauma gives you a perspective that can significantly impact your life in a negative way. Well, I'm telling you, get some therapy, some coaching. It can impact your life in a positive way to get some insight and make some changes and learn how to take personal ownership of the things you condone. Because a lot of times, if you don't, you'll spend a lot of time blaming other people for how they treat you. And one of the things I laugh at, because I look at so many people, I said in one of my books, Captain Save a Bro. People are always looking for someone to help and save and deliver, but they don't invest in themselves. This is why I enjoy consulting organizations dealing with self-care. It says, Jay Pitts presents, he said, what's your best response to negative people or situations? Well, other than cutting them off if they have a history of it, I make a recommendation to do what I'm doing now. Go talk to a coach, go talk to a therapist, or make an appointment. Because again, sometimes people need to be aware of how negative they are. And so when they're being aware and you're the person who bringing that self-awareness to them, you need to be compensated for it. You have to realize how important your skill set is. And we always teaching clients to have self-worth, but coaches and therapists have to have self-worth in themselves and understand their value and stop giving away all that free information. They get enough free information in a sense when we're doing these podcasts. But it's always a limit. They can get it personal. This is why when we in mental health, we have individual treatment plans. These are personalized treatment plan to deal exactly with the client's individual needs. And so you can be able to better suit them to get them through the process of healing, process of becoming the best version of themselves. So I hope that answers your questions on J Pitts Presents. Again, it's so important to know your worth, because I'm going to tell you, a lot of people out here are coaches, and I know it feels good to stroke your ego and trying to giving information and letting people know that you have this skill set. But I'm going to tell you, they will suck you dry. And then they'll start calling you, starting off with their disclaimers, this and that. Yes, that's true. Yes, invest in yourself. Let me tell you, invest in yourself is the biggest investment you can make. I'm talking about, as I started the show, I was talking about health, and I knew that I probably would have been taking a lot of breaks, but I guess it didn't happen that way because I've been drinking a lot of fluids with the medication I've taken. But again, I invested in my health. We have to invest in our health, mental health. It's just not physical health, but mental health. Invest in ourselves, because there's always a return in the investment. You're talking about, a lot of times people don't want to go to school, but they spend money on a lot of other things. Listen, when you go to school, you can go ahead and get degrees, certifications, whatever. But it's always best to invest in yourself. There's always a return in it. I know a lot of times people look for monetary returns, but I'm going to tell you, there's no better return to have a productive, loving, healthy relationship with yourself. People always say that the world would be a better place if we had more peace. Well, guess what? Invest in yourself, you'll get a lot more peace in your life. I always said, I put on my refrigerator, anybody interferes with my peace, my relationship with God, and my relationship with my profession, I gotta depart from them. And when you understand how important peace is, you will learn to invest in yourself. So this is what I had to say for tonight. I hope that you guys got some empowerment. I hope that you've grown. I hope you got some insight. And if you did, please Cash App me at $Suave R. Walker. That's SUAVERWALKER. If you learned something from today's episode, I just hope that you have. I hope that you invest in yourself, believe in yourself, love yourself, and just remember, great minds reach great places. I love you. I mean it. Bye-bye.
Programs like this are made possible by Neighborhood Planet Broadcasting Systems, Neighborhood Planet Network, iBlisters Digital Media Creative, and from contributions to NPN TV from viewers like you. Thank you.
What's up, everyone? I'm Brandy the Disconnector, wife, show host, entrepreneur, investor, and ICS certified life coach, here to tell you that I'm on NPN TV, the network that is by us and for us. Lock in and let's get it.
Tune in and stream live now. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, is now being broadcast on NPN Voice. NPN Voice can be found on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, and now on Audible and Amazon Music, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, now on NPN Voice. NPN Voice. Got voice. You heard?